activity. Life is what it is about. These lines of Pablo Neruda are apt in present times. Good evening, everyone. I, Gargi Gupta, welcome you all on the behalf of the entire team of I'm Entrepreneur. It aims to develop e-cells in schools to inculcate entrepreneurship in students, transforming them from job seekers to job creators. In today's Talk Prism, Chapter 4 on the topic, Teaching Students to be Digitally Responsible Citizens, I'm delighted to welcome the distinguished and cordial guest speakers of the day. Let me introduce you all with today's panel. Ms. Ravisha Agarwal, Director, SRN International School, Jaipur. Ms. Aishwarya Goyal, Perception Coach and Director, Little Hearts Group of Schools. Ms. Hina Magan, Principal, Rosebud Senior Secondary School. And Ms. Simran Jain, Growth Manager, School Log. I welcome all the empowering and dynamic women of our country to this exclusive talk show series, Talk Prism, where educationists and entrepreneurs have come together to talk about a very sensational and important topic in the field of education. That is, teaching students to be digitally responsible citizens. Life is an ongoing process. It is a journey with the amalgamation of sweet and bitter experiences. Year 2020 has brought us blend of all kinds of challenges. And one of them is virtual learning along with keeping tranquil disposition during lockdown. So to mitigate the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic with the prolonged lockdown, teachers and educators across the country are bracing themselves for the new normal in education. So now, without much ado, let us begin the talk show where we will listen to the views of our just full panelists on an important issue of digital era. That is to make our students aware of their responsibilities as a digital citizen. Our world is changing and it's changing faster than we know and often faster than any of us want to believe. So as educational institutions, these changes pose a real challenge for schools and colleges. And their job will boil down to a single sentence is to teach the students how to be productive, positive, and impactful adults. So teaching young children means helping them navigate both academic and social emotional arenas, and it is always has been a lofty goal. So I would like to commence with asking the views of Aishwarya ma'am, Director, Little Hearts Group of Schools, that ma'am, what is like being a digitally responsive citizen and how the student community plays a major role on this?
Hello everyone. Thank you so much, Dargi, for inviting me on this discussion. I'm really feeling pleasure, to be a part of this panel discussion. So yes, we are knowing this that we are now like discussing this virtually. We have never done this kind of thing, in the past. That like these kind of things were just we were seeing in the corporate. Like normally schools में या फिर हमने generally कभी भी ऐसा discussion नहीं देखा. It's always face to face. It's always human interaction, face to face. But here we are today, and here we are discussing about the digitally responsive citizen. So here is the key word, the citizen. So citizen means what? We all are the citizens of India, right? And we all have our own values. These values are compassion towards other people, empathy, and integrity. These all are values of us, of being a citizen. These are the core values, right? So being a digitally responsive citizens has the same values, and they have to just apply them digitally also. They have to take care of the other person also online. They have to take care of others emotions also. And this is the core area which makes us digitally responsive citizen. And adding to this, there are certain characteristics of digital responsive citizen. That is, first I have talked about being empathetic. And second thing, we have to teach children or the people how the internet works. These days people doesn't know how internet works. A lot of crimes also happens on the internet, but people don't know about that. So we need to give the education about that for making them digital responsive citizen. Third is understanding user data. User data is the future. If you know the importance of data, you know the importance of the internet, because data is everything in the future. Artificial intelligence is totally dependent on the user data. And fourth is practicing digital literacy. On internet, we can see fake news, authentic news, everything, right? So we need to literate students about the digital literacy, what is correct or what is incorrect. That's very, very important, because nowadays students as well as us as an adults also get away with the information, and sometimes try to take that info in our heads, and sometimes that get under our skin, and that really affects us. So we need to learn this thing, that how we learn this thing, is it true or is it fake. And fifth is acknowledging the digital divide. So we are in this era here, so many people doesn't have the internet at all, but we are having good Wi-Fi, we are having everything, and we are just thinking that everybody has the same kind of access. But we have to be sensitized about those people who don't have those access, and we have to be very patient and very empathetic about them also. And now next point is practicing digital wellness. As same as physical wellness, digital wellness is equally important. In this digital wellness, you need to know how much time you are spending on the internet or virtually on, you can say, screens. And you should have some off screen time also, because I am, like, being a director of school, I am seeing teachers using like they are in the front of screen, I think for 6 to 7 hours, and that's very bad. So I suggested all the teachers, use blue cut rays lenses, so that their eyes will not get affected, and take the off-screen time properly, so that they can take care of themselves also. I know it's very important to connect, because we are doing everything on the internet as of now. So it's important to have that digital wellness also. And my last point is securing digital devices. We all know we are having fingerprints, we are having face IDs, we are having everything, but we don't know how other can breach that. So we need to teach about this thing also, that how you can secure your devices. In this way, we can make our students actually, we can ourselves be digital responsive citizens.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I totally agree with your point. Now, let me take the same question to our another guest speaker, Ravisha ma'am, Director SRN International School. Ma'am, would you please put forward your views on making our students digitally responsive citizens? Ma'am, you're on mute, please. Yeah.
I said, first of all, namaskar, and thank you to my co-panelists. And a lot of things have been added by Ms. Aishwarya already. But see, the basic aspect when you ask someone to be responsible or a responsive citizen is, the first thing you tell them is, what is the basic groundwork for anything? It's humanitarian attitude. The moment you have a humanitarian attitude, you add compassion, empathy, sympathy, anything. So the basic aspect when you want someone to be responsible is when they start feeling that emotion towards something. So what happens is, when you put yourself in the radar of how you want to be treated digitally, is the way you will start treating others digitally. And I believe we are pertainingly talking about students these days who have a lot of, I remember, probably 2 years back, we would say a child gets internet for about an hour's time if he had to do some research or something, not more than that. But in today's time, it's there because it's needed. It's the good that's needed. It's the devil that should be restricted. We can't live without it. We can't live with it. We have a love and hate relationship with digital platform at the moment. So what we need to do is we need to tell them how to do it the right way and what goes wrong. So we educate them that this is what can go wrong with you. This is how you can be impacted. This is how you can be influenced. And what is the only way that you can tell them is to give it a balance. Keep a balance. You're going to be there. The good things will be thrown at you by internet. The bad things will be thrown at you by the internet. But you need to be knowing as to what is the right and what is the wrong. If you open your WhatsApp is a digital media. On everyday basis, you get 10,000 news about one same news turned and twisted around in a million ways. So one news, 10,000 forwards with 1 million aspects or fractions of truth. What do? You yourself filter it out. The same thing has to go with children. We as parents, we as teachers, and we as peers need to tell them that there's a right time and right place and right way of doing it. That's how you can do it. You cannot give them a guideline. They cannot follow the guideline. The children, An 18-year-old is still a child. That's why they're students. A BTech student is still a student, though 18 plus, still not that well developed, because they're still learning to go into the practical world and understanding the repercussions. But you've got to tell them, you've got to counsel them. And like I said, you have to tell them the repercussions and tell them, what if you were on the other side? What if the news was about you? What if somebody didn't tell you the truth? What if the forward was about you? What would you do? So I think as children who are the upcoming citizens, as of now, they're teenagers, but technically we're the strongest country with the maximum number of youth. So if they're not responsible, and if their time is wasted in sending WhatsApp forwards and listening to fake news and gossiping around in absolutely baseless, factless kind of thing, then they are definitely wasting their precious time, which they should be investing in a better and brighter future for themselves and for our country. So I think the bottom line is same: responsible digital, responsible non-digital, physical, global, international. Have a humanitarian attitude, and the rest all you will know, because you will realize how you need to behave as a good person in this country. And of course, the rest you need to monitor, but it has to come from inside. So they need to find the balance. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You are like absolutely right. Like since so many years and the centuries, I should be saying, the students have been taught how to be responsible members of their communities and countries, from learning about history and government and civic duties to the arguably, more about the important need for respect and communication and service. But there's a secondary community that all of us students are simultaneously growing up in, and it is one we don't ever see or hear, and that is the digital world. So here I would like to invite our next guest speaker, Hina ma'am, Principal Rosebud School, to present her viewpoint. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, first of all. And secondly, what is told by Ravisha ma'am is actually what I wanted to say, that that duty has to be taken by the parents as well as teachers, so that they should communicate with their children to be how to be responsible enough. It is the first duty of being a parent as well as the teacher, that the teacher should talk to the students like what is right for them. One should not troll, one should not start bullying others on the social media platforms. Basically, if you talk about these days, the students are basically into the social media platforms, and they're more, we should, if we want to tell them about the responsibility, it should be from that point of view, because that is basically easy for them to understand. That is into their daily needs, if you talk about. So it is very important to use anything which we have in a digital content in a proper manner. So that is all. If you want, one should not take the credit of others. Basic problem which we are dealing with these students like these days, that is, one is copying the things of others and taking their credits and all. So this should also be emphasized on the fact by the teachers themselves, that they should know that what is right for them and what is wrong. So basic, and if you talk about, one should be sensitive enough or humble enough to put themselves into the place of others and then comment upon or share the videos, etc., by keeping themselves into their place. One should not do it just because, if you talk about, even I should say, a student should be taught that before commenting or before doing anything else, one should take a break from a technology break and think for 10 seconds and then start doing the whatever the person is doing. That is all what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to have Simran ma'am to present her views on the same.
Have already told by Ashwarya ma'am, Ravisha ma'am, and Hina ma'am. But what I like to say is that, first of all, what is the need of teaching students to be a responsible digital citizen? As the technology is advancing and everything, like students nowadays are more engaged with the online platform, because everything can be done online, like for the information purpose, for the entertainment purpose, for online game is also become trendy nowadays. So students are more taking their time for the online platform. So for me, a responsible digital citizen should have all the properties what a global citizen would have. For example, as a global citizen, we had been taught that we should treat each other with respect. We should not say anything which will hurt the other person's sentiments. We should respect each other point of view. So same is for the virtual world also. Like how we treat each other in a real world, we should treat each other in a virtual world also. We should be very careful while sharing the content which is available online, because they may affect the other person, they may influence the other community also. And for the student purpose, like just telling them the rules, like you should follow this, you should follow this, will not help, because as a student they always want to explore. They can't go like whatever I will tell and they will follow. It can't happen. But as an example, when we used to play certain games, so first of all there are some rules which are taught to us, but should we follow that? No. What we want to explore by ourselves. What will happen, मतलब ऐसा होता है कि हमें कुछ बोला जाए कि ये नहीं करना है, तो हम जानबूझ के करने लग भी जाते हैं कि क्या होगा, करके देखते हैं. So what we can do, and most of the time what happens, students at a certain age, instead of taking parents and teachers point of view, they start believing their friends more. So in spite of all this, how we can make them a technical sound person? I guess we should do some this kind of digital workshop or technical seminars where we can teach them, where we can give them a chance to explore. And as a company also, if we can provide such things, we should do. This is my point.
Thank you so much, Simran ma'am. I totally agree with your points. Undoubtedly, as technology becomes an ever-growing presence in all of our lives, the need to educate students how to be responsible citizens of that digital world has become clear. And I feel that teenagers are often the first ones to use the new social media. You can say when the Instagram came or the Facebook came. So teenagers were the first one or the pioneers who started using that particular platform. So now I would like to have Ravisha ma'am sharing with us her perception on what children and teenagers get out of being good digital citizens.
Okay, like the moment you mentioned teenagers and children, and as you said, they're pioneers. So the moment you talk about them being pioneers of digital media, I would call out, we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about Instagram, we're talking about Twitter, things like that. So if you look at us, I mean, we're grown-ups, right? And the kids are much more competitive than we are. And they literally have a parallel life that is there on social media. Unfortunate. I would not call it a very fortunate. It's good to share, but to live your life on a social media, and that too for people you haven't even met, not just your friends. It's not about friends anymore. It's about some random people you've never met, you don't know. They follow you, and you give yourself a yippee and hooray. You tell your friends, XYZ followed me from this part of the world, that corner of the world. And why? You're simply a teenager. You've done nothing exceptional so far, except for probably having a good picture. Think twice as to why would somebody follow you. There has to be a motive. It could be big data collection companies who actually start investing young, because these are going to be consumers of tomorrow. So you start targeting them. If they form a good baseline, they become influencers. You tend to keep a track on them, that if not today, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years down the line, they're going to be somewhere. You track the trend as to what they're doing, where they go, what they travel, what they wear, the zoning, the placing, mapping, all of it is done. But the sad part of this is what they actually stop living is a real life. I think most of us are pretty much in the same age, 5-10 years up and down. And I remember when we went to school, our life was about what our friends did. We did happen to get onto an online platform at a certain age, but it was not dominant. We did not care whether, we would not stop playing sports because our hair didn't look presentable, or we did not bother not talking to some people because they would unfriend us on social media. We would not bother not fighting for ourselves because there could be gangism on social media, which happens, which is unfortunate. So when a particular child gets the sense, he or she is able to live a realistic life, which I think the past 3-4 generations, since it's become very dominant, has missed out. You ask them where they've gone, it's going to be on the Instagram. If it's not there, they'll not repeat their clothes, because their focus has gone on that. They've lost the focus that you can go online and learn abacus. instead of just going and updating your statuses. They have stopped believing that there is life beyond and above what is there on the browser. And there is life and above beyond that. They want to stay secluded because they want to spend some more time chatting with friends. And if unfortunately they come across an antisocial element, they might end up being influenced in the wrong way. That could lead to even bad repercussions and circumstances. So I think it is very, very important that they realize that it's important for them to find the right kind of balance. It's okay to explore, like Simran said, they all do explore, but there has to be the limit where they know that now the exploration beyond this point is not good. It's fine to be on social media. You can't stop them. They are 18 years old, but parents still allow a Facebook account. They're 18 years old, still they're there. But if they know or they're monitored, they're taken care, they are a responsible citizen. And a responsible citizen will definitely be a more, I would say, a non-biased, an unbiased citizen who can actually do good for the country. Because the moment you're influenced at a young age with anything, even if I don't know if you read, even anti-terrorist, this terrorist organizations and all, they start targeting kids young because they're vulnerable, right? So vulnerability is such a big issue these days, and it needs to be taken care of. Because if kids that vulnerable once get influenced, then the things can go for toss without even you realizing when it started and where it ended up. So I think that's what I think is more important. They'll be legitimately, its generation would be responsible and good leaders. That's what we need, because we're tired and sick of uneducated politicians. We need some sensible people to take care of the country. And I think these guys have that job they should take care. Young, good, dynamic, educated, and digital India. So that's all I'll say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I totally agree with your views and suggestions. So now I would like to ask Aishwarya, ma'am, that why is it necessary for the students to be a good digital citizen? So please present your opinion on the issue, ma'am. What are your viewpoints on the same?
The same thing Ravisha ma'am said, that we have, almost we have, I guess, 70% is the youth, which is, on the internet more than the, parents and the adult ones, right? So let me talk about me. So when I was a teenager, I started using Orkut first, and then Facebook, and then Instagram, right? So till even I can say before my marriage, I was too much into the social media all the time. And why was that? Like, the main focus is that why was that happening with me? So we as a parents or educators tell children, don't use social media, don't use phones, don't do this, don't do that, and they never listen to us, right? I never listen to anyone, let me be honest, because they have never taught us the consequences. They have, because they didn't have that kind of knowledge, because that thing has just came to India, and that thing has just came up, and they were not understanding what is in there for them. They know the importance of education, but they don't know what social media is doing to the children. If you have seen the social media dilemma on Netflix, it is actually telling what social media does to the children, how social media taking like everything from the children, and they are just stuck into that. There was a guy in that movie who was just influenced by this political party, and then he was just got influenced, and he was in the one of in a bad event, I can say. He was get arrested, and these things were happening. And I guess in between, a blue whale game also came, right? So in this situation, a student will take the responsibility when the parents and we educators take the onus. We are not there that we will say that students have all the responsibility. We as educators also have this onus on us, that we teach them in a very sensitive way. We can't just blame everything that you can't do this and you can do this. We have to tell them, we have to give them proper information and proper knowledge, and then it's their decision what they want to do. Obviously, if they are understanding the things, they will take the good decisions. But if they are not, and if their values are not on track, they will definitely will not able to be as a good digital citizens. That's all.
I would like to add a point here.
Yes,
Sorry.
ma'am.
But like she said, I think not only as teachers we have a responsibility, but I personally think parents have a big
we
responsibility.
need to teach parents also, because
Yes. So
I
if
think
they give
parents also.
I think it should become compulsory. If they give them an
Yes.
iPad or a phone,
Yes,
they should do a 1 hour webinar, a seminar, or a class or something,
definitely.
because they need to know
Definitely.
what's happening. Otherwise, everything comes that school said that they need to do digital thing, and because the school said so, we gave it.
Yes.
So I think that
Totally.
somehow becomes a little bad position.
Before
for both
teaching-
the parents. Yes. So I think
Before teaching students, it's important to teach parents.
yes, correct.
I agree.
It's very important.
So maybe, ma'am, as educators, you can come up with an idea of having the parents webinar about the digital citizenship. So now I would like
We
to
would love-
have, that would be so amazing if like we are going to have the parents along with the students and teaching them about, because today even the parents are not that much aware about this particular thing, that what are the golden rules of being the digital citizen. So with that, I would like to request.
Sorry to
Hina,
interrupt. One more thing. If you are
Yes,
saying
ma'am.
this thing, these days, students are taking the classes, right? And I have seen parents who are saying that, मेरा बच्चा तो 7 घंटे फोन लेके बैठता है and बोलता है कि मैं तो पढ़ाई कर रहा हूँ, and they are even not present in the class.
Actually,
And then
I would
also
like
for
to add
that-
on something. I would
Yes,
like to
ma'am.
add on something into it. That of course but it should be responsibility of the parents as well, that between those 7 hours, at least they can take out 15 minutes of their time and know what the child is actually doing. Because
That's
it is
what-
not
that's
only
what.
the responsibility of the parents, like teachers itself, that we are taking up the classes, we can understand the things. But
Yes.
parents should also make it a point that after at least an hour or half an hour, they should interfere into it and see whether the class is going on or the games are going on.
Totally. Like parents need to check upon their kids that what they are doing. They're actually attending the classes or they are playing the games. Or they can even contact the teacher that the child was present in the class. Is he answering or not? Or kind of take a report.
Ma'am, these days, like students are if you talk about, they're very intelligent. They're intelligent than us. They know how to do everything. Video is off. They are on mute. You never know they are present or not. Internet signals are not there. That is an easy way out, which they can say.
Yes, that's very true. So, ma'am, why do you think that it is necessary for the students to be a good digital citizen? Like, what is the necessity for them?
Ma'am, if you talk about if a country is if we talk about our country is made up of all the citizens. But if you talk about the students, they are the coming up citizens of the country, right? So if they are responsible enough to know that what should they do on their digital platform, then it would be very easy, and it would be an easy task to shape the country as an all. So if you talk about being a digital, if you talk about these COVID situations, they have given rise to a new digital era or new digital world, in which, if you talk about, there were earlier times, the parents used to, as a parent, I can tell, I used to just give my phone to my child just for an hour, not more than that. But if you talk about today, the parents are giving, like students are having their own mobile phones just because they want to attend their classes, as ma'am told about. It is the fact. But at the same time, it is also important to know for the parents as well as their family members that what the child is actually watching on their mobile phones, right? There should be proper app locks. There are the apps are there which can lock the content. The parental lock should be taken care of. Certain keywords should be blocked so that the student should focus on their studies only. So it is very important to have a student to know that what is better for their betterment and what is not there for their betterment. So the basic thing is, it is as ma'am told, Ravisha ma'am, that yes, a teacher or a parent cannot alone take the responsibility of teaching a child, and one should put into the soup, but we cannot even put them into a hot soup and to know that whether they are right or wrong. So at glimpses, if you talk about, we should attend, not in the basis of a counseling session, but yes, we should have a small seminars regarding the same, so that which could teach them not in a direct manner, but in indirect manner, that what is good and what is not good for them, right?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Like your viewpoints were so realistic. Like I totally agree with them. So now, Simran ma'am, how would you like to answer this with the perception of an entrepreneur in the digital era?
So, as most of the points have been told by all the panelists, so as we are discussing that at our age we used to use the mobile phones or the internet for just for few hours, for maybe for 1 hour. So our character building was done by the real world. We used to meet the people, we used to understand them. So our character building was done by the real world. But now, as the students or the kids are more into the online or more into the digital world, so their character building is done by the virtual world. So it is very much important what they are seeing, what they are using, what the contents they are keeping into the mind, because eventually that will reflect into their real life situation also. Their thought process will be dependent upon them, their decision making will dependent upon them, what they are seeing in the virtual world. So I guess if they will be a good responsible citizen, good digital citizens, so it will help them to create a good character building. They should be conscious enough that what is right and what is wrong for them. And as a teacher, as a educators, as an influencer, as a parents, and as well as elder siblings also, we should teach them, because as I'm the elder one, so my brother is like, as he is in college right now, he's in first year, so he has his online classes. So as all the panelists has told that they what to do, they switch off the camera, they mute themselves and then play the games. So same my brother is doing. So it's my responsibility also to teach them, to teach him that it's not good. Eventually it will harm you, eventually it will create a negative impact on your life. So it is very much important to know the use of the internet, how much time we should give it to them, how much what to perceive and what not to, what to keep in mind and what not to. So this is my take.
Would like to add on into that point that if you talk about these days, people are living dual life, one for the Instagram and one if you talk about the real life. If you talk about the Instagram life is entirely different from that we live a real life. So as she told, Simran told that one should try to keep themselves connected into the real world. But I would say that it is very, very, if you talk about difficult for these youngsters to be a part of real world, rather than it is very easy for them to have a dual personality and be a part of Instagram life, because that is all they want to live these days. If you talk about, you can call it in terms of nowadays everyone, there was a pet show, so everyone has a pet these days at their places, if I'm not wrong, because they are all affected by the Instagram life.
It's a self-esteem issue. Everybody wants to build up their self-esteem by doing what is, popular these days. So if XYZ did a Anna Elsa theme party or a Peppa party or something related to a game, or they're playing something, they need to do it because they need to move with the world. In fact, the kids are mentally affected because of it. There are a lot of times that when they feel mentally stressed, when the parents are in stress, leave aside the corona time, but the kids in the metropolitan cities, they're so updated in the tier 2 cities also, that they live a high standard dual life where the parents are under stress because of the amount of expenditure they have to do to maintain a child's lifestyle, so that the child doesn't feel bad and doesn't go into a shell that you're not doing it for me and the other parent is, which is I think which is a very sad situation. It should not be happening.
Of course, you're very right, ma'am. And I would like to add on into the point, it is not just the kids, it is being parents as a part of it. I have in the society only we all live, and we know that some of the parents are also into the Instagram life and they want to live that life. And hence their children are affected through that. They even say there are certain parents who are indulging their students into this life.
Thank you so much, panelists. So with this, I am able to recall one of the old saying that I read during my teenage, that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So in the course of teaching your children or your students learn how to behave and treat others online, it is also necessary to learn how to spot those red flags in the behavior of the other people on the digital platform, which will help keep them safe. So on this, I would like to invite Ravisha ma'am to keep her stand on the ways to judge a content shared online. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, so see what happens is a quality content is a quality content always visible. If it's a good source, if it's coming from Times of India, you know it's coming from the right source. If it's coming from XYZ, you would just be like, hanky panky, something's wrong with it. So if I actually see the latest kind of content that I think the most of the country is talking about is schools. Because when the corona thing started, the first thing that happened is, and very sad situation, the parents started maligning the schools which are technically and are truthfully the temple of education, the profession that makes professionals, were started to treat it like a DMart or a Airtel or, things like that. They were treated like that. It was a very sad situation. And what caused that? Was it a political agenda from certain states? Was it just because one parent said? It was a sad situation to see how a couple of people who do not probably understand the value of education made a small WhatsApp video and viraled it across the country, telling the people who are educated, probably IAS, IPS, RPSs and state collector, things like that, that don't pay fee. Randomly, just don't pay fee. And they got influenced without actually looking at the aspect that is it the right content? Should I be doing that? For example, if you are not a government school teacher, the government is not funding you, you work in a private school because you probably studied for it, your level of education was better. Unfortunately, it is one place where teachers are better. Private school teachers are better than government school teachers. Rest other places I can't say. So you studied well, your parents made sure you studied well, and you went to take a private school sector job. And now suddenly the private schools are not getting fee because somebody sent a content that you can go to XYZ school, sit in front of the schools and say, we'll not pay the fee. And people blindfolded and sat. Now, how do you expect children to filter it when 30-year-olds don't have the brain to realize it? And I will say they don't have the brain. Why? Because anybody would know that economy runs in circles. You pay one person, the other person pays the second person pays the third person, and you are not paying the person who's making sure to educate your child so that he is worth being paid by somebody or he becomes worth paying somebody. Either he'll be a job seeker or a job provider, and you are taking it as unimportant. So buying a bhindi became more important than giving children the education, right? The country which saves gold so that हम बच्चों की शादी में 1 किलो सोना बेच देंगे जो रेनी डे के लिए बचाते हैं, उनके हिसाब से ये रेनी डे नहीं है, पर सडनली वो रेनी डे आएगा जब उनके बच्चों की शादी होगी. So they still believe in investing the money in getting a bigger pandal and giving the money to their daughter or son-in-laws, then instead of taking out a very small chunk of that saving to educate their children so that goes unhindered. Do you realize the country we call progressive is back to the third world? We are not even a second world country. We're a third world country. We save money for children's marriages and don't believe in spending the money on children's education. This is content. We could not filter it. We could not filter a simple content. Do you think that such parents can actually monitor their children in filtering the content they're watching? They will have the basic knowledge. This is a pornographic website, you can't go. This is MTV Roadies, you can't go. This is this, you can't go. But they can't filter when communalism, religion, political parties will fight. Why? Because they themselves are under the influence. We need to educate all of them that we as a country are bigger. We're a secular state. We are polished like that. We should believe in it. So I think most important thing is check the source where it's coming from. Check the quality. Sach hoga to kam shabdon mein bhi acha likha hoga. Check the place, the people who are talking about it. Understand, apply your common sense. And most importantly with children, be friends with your kids so that they're open to you and they can come and say, my friend sent me this. What does this mean? My friend sent me this forward. Could be anything. Could be even related to, I would put it in a thing related to sex education. Anything in this world that they don't know is education. It is up to you and me how we put it. If we do, no, this is wrong, then that is something, the more you resist, the more it will persist. But if you tell them this is education, right thing, right time, right place, they will know, okay, not the right time, not the right place. I need to wait. They will learn about it. Usage of language. We have not been able to filter out the song so far. हमारे यहाँ जो शादी में गाने चलते हैं, 4 साल के बच्चे उनको राइमिंग में बोल जाते हैं, वो म्यूट पर है. The singer is on mute. He doesn't say. The children complete it. Why? Why have we not filtered that out? You can't go to a digital media platform and watch a series because your children, 13 plus is mentioned. A 13 plus should not be allowed to watch what is there on Netflix. It's not apt. So I think we need to focus where it's coming, and the government needs to be a little stringent about what they're offering. If we call ourselves a modern upcoming country with values, a modernity doesn't mean that it needs to be down in the gutters. No, we don't need to abuse. We don't need to say bad words to show we are a modern India. We're modern India because we have Ayurveda. We're teaching the world at $1 million cost. It is good if we sell Patanjali. I would be happy to be modern India selling Ayurveda, yoga, Om, all of that. We don't need to adapt the Western world. The Western world is running behind us. So let's take from them what they don't know. Coding is arithmetic. Coding is not Western, it's ours. So if somebody says it's from West, sorry, we are the innovators of coding. We knew it before you did. So when we have everything, I think we as a country, everybody needs to realize we are much more modern. We don't need to adopt. And even the parents, because we are the young parents in 30s, and we have a tendency to be the happening parents, so our language or our lingo is like that, we say things to be a little more polished. It's okay. They don't say hi, it's okay, namaskar chalega. Hamare desh ki culture hai na, kya buri hai? We need to filter the content, nobody else. We'll do it. That's what I think.
Thank
I
you
would
so
like
much.
to add on to ma'am that
Yes,
ma'am
ma'am.
rightly said, if you talk about one should teach their students or their children that even Hindi is a good language
Yeah.
and one could speak that
If somebody
rather
says,
than
"Mujhe
telling
Hindi
them
nahi
no,
aata,"
that is
yes, somebody comes and says, "Mujhe Hindi nahi aata," so you should be ashamed. It's a national language.
yes,
Aati hai
of
Hindi,
course.
aata nahi hai. Just because you speak fluent English, you can't say "Mujhe Hindi nahi aata." So that is the attitude we all need to change. And it is very important that we speak the language, which is the mother of many languages. It's not just Devanagari is not just India. They found words from Spanish and Portuguese also from there. So
But ma'am, I have like many people around me, being parents itself, who who think like Hindi is a language which is like it's an obsolete one, or it is too tacky to be used. So one thing which I wanted my parents always to know that yes, Hindi is our mother tongue and we should respect it. Like you said, if hi is there, then namaskar is also there, and we should take it worldwide.
Very, very truly, curated by Ravisha ma'am and Hina ma'am. That these are the few points that I think each and every parent who's in the audience right now and watching us should actually touch, because being modern is something way more than what we are doing right now. It is about accepting our own Indian culture and being proud of it. So I totally agree with your points, Ravisha ma'am and Hina ma'am. But now I would like to hear the views of Simran ma'am over the issue. So over to you, ma'am.
So first of all, I agree with all the analysts that the language should not be a barrier. Every language is, you should have the knowledge. It should not be the language. And for the student, I would like to say that don't believe everything which is available online. This is the first thing, because internet is free source. Anybody can post anything. Anybody can write any comment. So we should not trust. If it's in the internet, it is not likely to be true. It's not that it will be true. It may be fake. It may be biased. So whenever we get any information, we should do research. We should do Google. That we should take the information from multiple sources. We should not believe in a single source of information. We should filter it out. We should research it. Then we should make an opinion that whether it is right, whether it is relevant, whether we should use it or not. And second most important thing is that if I talks about the technology, nowadays targeted marketing is there. I would give a simple example. Whenever we want to buy anything, suppose we are on a social media, in a shopping portal, and we write any brand name which we want to buy. In the next moment, when we open any other social site, the same ad will be coming. Why? Because it is the targeted marketing. So in other posts also, it is based on the target. Like it belong to it will directly build upon the what is your locality, what is your age group, what is your social political views. So comprising all these things, the content will be shown to you. So one should understand that it is a target marketing. It should not be the it is not necessary that it is true. So what we can do, for example, if I live in a locality, so it's most likely that surrounding my locality, they will be targeted with the same content. So we can discuss with the parents, we can discuss with our friends, we can discuss with the society, can have a debate. It will also create a healthy culture also, like debating. I will keep my viewpoints, the other person will keep his or her viewpoints, then we may come to a conclusion. Okay, so this is right, this is wrong, this is relevant, this is irrelevant. So in this way we should judge the content.
Thank you so much, Simran ma'am. I totally get along with your points that yes, we need to understand this. So Aishwarya ma'am, what are your views on the same topic? Ma'am, please. Yeah.
As Simran just said, that research is very important, but sometimes we just get stuck in the research also because we don't know what is right and what is wrong in the research point of view also. And Ravisha ma'am just said that the sources should be correct, but nowadays I am seeing at the news, at the newspapers, certain blogs and certain actual, I can say, the authentic news also are getting influential these days. So in that case, what we should do? So in that case, we as educators should do the case studies in the classes, which will increase the critical thinking in the minds of children, so that they can judge themselves, like what they want for themselves and what they want from the society and what they are actually searching for. Sometimes क्या होता है कि हम एक टॉपिक सर्च करने जाते हैं, उससे रिलेटेड हमें 5 टॉपिक मिलते हैं, and we get just stuck in the information. We just don't get the actual information that we want. So as we know that in the Harvard University, Columbia, and all these universities, that's why always encourages case studies, and that's why these people are always have a critical thinking, and they know in that case what they should do and what they should not do. Rahi baat Instagram ki and Facebook ki and these social media platforms, we also know these days children are getting influenced by other their peers. So in that case, we need to teach them what their beliefs should be. हम जो बच्चों के बिलीफ्स होते हैं, हमारे बिलीफ्स होते हैं, वो हमारे एनवायरनमेंट से बनते हैं, हमारे पेरेंट्स से आते हैं, हमारे फ्रेंड्स से आते हैं. So we as educators should refine them. We as educators should tell them what are your responsibility, and then definitely they can experience themselves these things. And definitely we should take these kind of workshops every week or twice in a month. It's very, very important to inculcate the critical thinking, to inculcate communication in between the teachers. And that's why group discussions are very helpful in this case, so that we can take each other's point of view, and rather than just saying that no, you are wrong, you are right, we can say, in this case you can also judge the content on the internet by just asking simple questions, and that we need to teach them. That's all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope the teachers, the parents, and the students in our audience will be able to use the valuable tips that all our eminent speakers are just given to be a good digital citizen. So while there are plenty of online tools and applications for monitoring kids' online behavior, the first line of defense come when the golden rules of the mobile era, that is the digital citizenship. But how do you think a student can preserve the sanctity of the consent in data sharing and penalize those breaching privacy norms? So for that, I would like to invite Hina ma'am to express her views on the preservation of the sanctity of the consent of the shared content by the students.
Ma'am, first of all, if you talk about, one should know that what the content is all about. The basic thing which is there, that the student does not know the content is all about. जब उसको पता ही नहीं है कि वो content किस बारे में, how will he be able to maintain the sanctity of the content if you talk about. So first of all, we have to encourage the students or the children that they have to take care of their personal content. they should not share their personal content on the media pages. Like if you talk about, everyone knows these days we are going for a holiday, that is also a post, right? So everything, if you talk about, so first of all, personal details should be taken care of. Next, one should not try to retaliate on the nasty post. If there is the responsibility of the to maintain the sanctity can only be on the faces, that they should not get irritated, or they should be patient enough to react in any of the content other than that. Fine. So first of all, a student should be told, or a child, or anyone, one should be told that what the content is all about and how one should react upon that content, rather than just taking a, like if you talk about, it is just a buzz of a situation and you start reacting. What happens in the real life? We have to understand that these are our digital footprints, right? And they would be there with us for lifelong time. So first of all, the child should be educated. पहले तो बच्चे को ये बताना पड़ेगा, या हमें सबको ये चीज समझनी पड़ेगी that whatever we are doing today will be followed with us during the time, if you talk about, the due correlation would be there. So the thing is that one should be taught that whatever you are doing today, that would result into something which is good or bad for tomorrow of your good only. So one should tell the child, or the parent should they take the duty to tell the child that, beta, whatever you are doing today, whatever you are posting today, that is something which is saved on that platform forever. And one should take care that these things should be taken care of by the teachers as well as their parents.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So in the continuation of the same question, I would like to move to Simran, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
So basically, sanctity of data consent and penalizing those who are breaching this privacy norms. So first of all, every citizen of India or every kid or teenager should know there is a law, that is a data protection bill is there. So there are rules and regulations of the digital world also. We can't get away with anything. Like suppose we have posted something, we are commenting on something, so it will act as a digital proof. We should understand this. Like suppose we have commented something bad on something and we have deleted it, so what we will think, okay, मैंने लिखा, मैंने delete कर दिया, गायब है. No, it is not. It is there as a digital proof. For example, Sushant Singh Rajput case, what is happening, all the investigation is done by the WhatsApp chat. So it is acting as a digital proof. And if the government wants any kind of data, then the company has to give it. They can't say no, that we will not provide this data. So first of all, we should understand that before commenting, before posting anything, we should think twice, whether it is good for the society, whether it is not. Like I'm talking about the student which are in above 8, 9, 10, which are the regular user of social media, because these are very much like trolling is very much common nowadays. So we should understand this, that all the activities which are doing on the internet will be act as a digital proof. And if something is happening to you, for example, some kind of online threat, some kind of fraud, so there are rules and regulations that you should take the screenshot of the messages. You should have all the information. You should not panic if anything has happened to you online, or fraud, or kind of online threat or trolling. You should not panic, because there are rules and regulations for the digital world also. As for the normal world, as for the real world, there are rules and regulations. So as for the digital world also, there are rules and regulations. So when we go to the cyber cell, one can lodge the FIR. So proper actions will be taken. Proper from the technology, like they can track the IP address, they can track everything. Every data is there. So eventually the culprit will be taken care of. They will be punished. So this is my take.
Thank you so much, Simran, ma'am. Now I would like to know the perception and the views of Ravisha, ma'am, on the same.
Okay, so see, consent is such a primary word related to everybody and everything, you know. I mean, consent word came with the Me Too movement, you know, all of them, and then so on and so forth. Where anything is breached or done against the wish of a person is when the consent word is always there in place. So what happens is, the first and the foremost thing that I think where this problem is happening is, like we discussed in the previous questions also, is the dual life. The reason why the consent breaching primarily is happening is when you want to post something that you are not, or you want to post something that is larger than life than other people, so that's where you send across. And then, the mindset of people on the other side who you're sending it to, that's where your consent is getting stuck. If you send it to a person with a balanced mind, it's done. It's for that person. It's for your eyes only, sorted. If it's not, then it can turn into a meme. It can turn into a conversation, a photograph, and a lot of things like that. And then from there, it becomes a problem. I think that's the basic problem that the children are facing. Of course, there are other sort of consent problems. Like if you go online, and a lot of us are also facing it along with the kids. You go to any app, they ask you, where do you want to log in from? Facebook and Google are the two primary options, and they hold the maximum personal information. And the moment you say, okay, I log in from my Facebook account or my Google account, you are giving them information. And then, of course, they have that, because data is the daddy. That's the reality. So you give them data, and then it's the new currency of the world. But the point is, with the children, it's a different mindset. It's a mental game. So sending pictures, images, all of that. In fact, even right now, the CBSE has also offered a circular, taken out a circular, that whatever data the schools have should not be given to the third party, because somewhere some schools must have misused it. Because like I said, data has become a currency. What happens is, the children do not know what needs to be filtered. What they think is very happening as per them for models or for the actors or the actresses, what they don't realize is, most of them have a psychologist or a psychiatrist who's telling them that, with like that Spider-Man dialogue, with great powers comes great responsibility, correct? So what is the great power? The power is, the world knows you. The world, some of them who are obsessed with you, in a way worship you. And the responsibility on you is that you should have the courage to be able to deal with it. Now they become larger than life, other than normal people, and they probably stop caring, or they create a facade where it doesn't matter. But the children are tender. The smallest thing matters, that, four of my friends are there and two of them have stopped talking to me for whatever reasons, or five of my friends are there and I'm not a part of the group. They are group outcasted. And what does that lead to? That leads to an unspoken stress that they are not able to handle. If they're open and friendly with their parents, they will go and tell, for example, my friend Ishwarya, Simran, and Ina, and now they're not talking to me. So the parents will know something's wrong. What? They will go and speak to the psychologist in the school, or make them, have a professional help, which should be an option given to children these days. It is okay to talk to somebody if they're not comfortable talking to you. But if they don't talk, what happens? They are in seclusion. It goes on their mind. And what do? They search for attention where everybody thinks that they are somebody else. And that's where you form a persona. You give out things you don't want to give. You do things you shouldn't be doing. And then things are in the place that nobody can control. So of course you need to tell them that you should not give out the content that you will repent later. That you can actually, so for that, what is the only way out? Talk to them. That's why they say, stop being parents. Once they are 10, stop being parents. Be their friends. Only a friend is the one whom they will talk heart to heart. Don't scold them. Yes, we need to, there's a balance in they being scared of parents, but you need to give them that comfort level that they can talk. So that you can tell them, this is the right thing, wrong. So that if a non-consented thing has happened, they can rush to you and tell you, okay, I did this, now what to do? And you can take control of it. And of course, the cyber cell, and there are a lot of places, there are NGOs also now handling and dealing with it, that can be taken care. So first and foremost, become your children's friends, talk to them, tell them what is right and wrong, tell them explicitly, but yeah, this is right, this is wrong. If something has happened with you, tell them that also, that I did a mistake. I don't want you to do this. This happened with them. If you see an example, you tell them. Even if they're doing it, they're not doing it, go tell them. It's okay to learn from other people's mistake. Tell them it's important to live in real world. On your birthday, your real friends will come. Your digital friends will not. If you want to go on a vacation, your real friends are the ones who will ask you, where did you travel? If a person you don't know what looks like, you will never be able to track them. A person you can't track is trouble. What you can't find a way out is definitely a black hole. And what goes in the black hole, God knows where it goes and what it leads to. So I think the most important thing is we tell them what to do with the idea and what is consent. When they understand, it's pretty much sorted.
Thank you so much, Ravisha ma'am. I think these are few points that each and every parent need to understand, that they have to become the friends and they have to come out of that super strict zone where the child is not able to share their things with them. So that's really nice of you that you have put this such an important point forward. And I think the virtual nature of social media and the privacy of using individual devices can embed in some to say or do things in cyberspace that would not do in the person. So sometimes unknowingly, the child either becomes a bully or get bullied by the others on the social networking platforms. So how do you think we can handle the situation of cyberbullying? And for this, I would like to invite Aishwarya ma'am to express her prospect. So over to you, ma'am.
So first of all, let's understand why the bully happens on the internet or in the schools, right? So who gets bullied and who do the bullying? So basically, who do the bullying takes fun in the bullying, right? And why they take fun in the bullying? Because they have those values, right? So I have spoke about the values and beliefs pehle bhi. So these values and beliefs always taken by the environment, parents, or surroundings around us. Sometimes what happens that our parents are getting are getting into a fight, right? Or are getting into a fight with the neighbor, or sometimes our neighbor are getting bullying any other person in our environment, right? So that kind of environment creates those kind of values on those children. So they have seen, they are getting fun, those neighbors or those parents or those their situation, they are taking out fun out of that, right? So because of that, they enjoys bullying. And a second reason of bully is that sometimes those students does not get hurt by their parents or by the surroundings. So that's why they just want to be the superior ones. So in their mind, they are like, I am the superior one, I have to get that value from other people, and that's why they bully others. And who get bullied are having that lower self-esteem and lower self-value and lower self-worth. That's why they get bullied. So we need to teach them both, and we need to make a balance in both of them, that either you cannot get fun, it can be a one-time fun. So how we can do that, right? So as people smoke, right, people drink also, but nowadays in the schools we take them to the rehabilitation centers to show them that how what are the effects and what are the consequences of those smoking and drinking situations and drug addiction, right? So in this case, we also can see if your any of your friend or any of your relative get bullied and this is the situation it is happening with them, even we can do the role play in the school so that they can see, okay, this is happening and this is how it is, they are reacting and this is their situation now. So we can sensitize them who are actually bullying other students, and we can make their values strong in that way. And same as the people who, same as the students who are getting bullied, even the adults get bullied on the side social media or like in the digital world. So we can tell them that we need to teach them what is their self value and what is their self worth, and how that will happen when we are emotionally connected with each other, when we are there to talk to each other, not just to show off our things. We have to be there to contribute, we have to be there to communicate, and we have to be there for collaboration. So social media, that's why social media is very much we need to be responsible on the social media, and we need to take up care of these things so that we can teach those things to our students also. That's all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, with the same question, I proceed the talk show and invite Hina, ma'am, that how can one contribute in the controlling or handling the cyberbullying? Over to you, ma'am.
First of all, ma'am, the student or a child should be told about what are the impacts of cyberbullying. And as said by ma'am, one should take the place of the other one's side. The parents should tell them that one should think in the perspective of the others, that if you are being bullied, how would you feel like? How would you react to the situation? Moreover, personal life examples should be given to the students or the children as well. The parents should share their personal experiences, if they have any, of cyberbullying, or taking example of other people who have been cyberbullied and what their consequences have been. Major, like if you talk about, many people commit suicide just because of that also. Cyberbullying can be a major cause for that. So if you talk about, a child should be told about if you talk about the major consequences that could take place, because that can only develop a mindset of fear in their mind, that before doing cyberbullying or before getting into the same thing, they should think twice. And moreover, a parent should be just like a friend to a child. Then only if a child is getting cyberbullied by someone or the other, then a child should be free to talk to their parents about the same. And the parents should also take up the duty to tell them that if they are being cyberbullied, then how should they react to it. They should not react, they should be patient enough. They should not react to it like without taking any time, and they start commenting or whatever the case may be. So these things are there which have to be told to them by the parents itself.
Thank you so much, Sheena ma'am. I think this is also important that parents understand, and even the educators need to talk about this to the children, that if something like this happens, so they need to report it to their elders or parents or anyone they are comfortable with, so that the legal action can be taken against such issues, and the same thing never happens with someone else who is near and dear to them. So with that, I would like to move to Aishwarya ma'am, that what's your perception over the cyberbullying?
I think she's already quoted.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so Ravisha ma'am, will you like to put something over it?
See, cyberbullying, bullying itself is a cry. It's a cry for attention. If you have a bully in the school, it's a clear-cut cry. It's not something that it's their nature or something. It's just like they mentioned, they need to be heard. So when you're not heard properly, that's when you say, okay, I want some attention. Now who's going to give it to me? And they learn to do it harsh way. And mostly if you find out, the children who are bullying are the ones who are bullied. Now you'll say, who's going to bully them? So every time you sit with your child and say, look, iske zyada marks hai, tere ko itna tuition bheja, tune itne number nahi aaye. What are you doing? You're bullying them. So if you honestly see, now I know how that sounds, but parents are the biggest bullies. Parents are unfortunately the biggest bullies. I have come across very few parents who can say, my child is fantastic at painting, and I think he or she could be the next Picasso. And it's fine, he's not good at physics. You would never find them. You would not come across. If you have somebody's parent who's an engineer at a good post, he realizes has a good package. He knows that this is the profession in which he's going to mint money, and this is not. So they're going to keep telling them. As per them, they're doing it for their betterment, that they're making them run from morning to evening to this. So the poor child is so, traumatized कि school में भी physics पढ़ूंगा, वो school में भी पढ़ के नहीं पढ़ पाता, because he knows कि my mom and dad are going to send me in the evening to a third institution where I have to study. So the attitude becomes casual, and what happens? You don't have time to talk to your child, so you're not listening to your child. Your child is either busy in that, he's unheard. The child doesn't have the voice to either tell you that I don't want to do this, or I want to do this, or I'm not enjoying this. So he has to speak somewhere. So where does he speak? Where the whole world listens, which is the internet. The world of internet is where you scream out, and there are people with nasty mindset and who will publicize it. It's a cry for attention. So all the parents who say my child is sitting for 7 to 8 hours, please just go. Your child wants to be heard. Your child wants you to sit and have, breakfast with them. Talk to them. Not just ki beta kya padha tha. It could be anything. That do you like this? Do you like that? What song do you listen to? Do you want this? Let's do something else. Stop studying for a while. When we don't do this, we build bullies. We build bullies in the children who are not heard. So and also I think cyberbullying, I won't say any other bullying. If there's a bullying happening in school, it should be definitely tackled with the school. Parents should give the opportunity to the school to talk about it, because let me be honest, school doesn't build bullies. Children come to school for 8 hours and the rest of the time they're home, and then they spend 2.5 months to 3 months with parents, and they are explicitly learning something from their parents. So if they see that a sad example, but if they see that uh, the owner of the house is bullying the servants or the help, they are learning indirectly, not teaching them. So if we teach them respect everybody, it's fine, we are telling them orally, but you are imbibing that it's okay to treat them this way. So they will learn that actions speak louder than words. So what you're teaching them is what they're learning. You are turning your children into bullies if that's the way you behave. If you do not speak the good language, then your children will learn to abuse faster than anybody else. And then you can't come and say, he's got friends who teach them. If you use it, he will learn it faster. You have to understand that. So that is something. And cyberbullying, I think, should never be taken lightly. Cyberbullying is something that should always be taken seriously, so that children who have the brains smart enough to understand how to create a bad consequence should be able to understand. At least they should be able to go and have a conversation with the cyber crime police. They should know कि हाँ सरकार जब बैठ के बात करती ना ऐसा लगता है. When you leave them like this, you give them a free hand. I know I'm opposite to what a lot of people will say, but anything that happens in school should tackle. But cyber is what is happening at back home. It's something that's quietly going on in their mind, and they need to be tackled a little more strongly. So definitely consult a psychologist from the school who should counsel them, make children sit together, sort out. But I think they need a family counseling. When a bully is there, a family counseling needs to be done, because usually it's the parental problem that is happening that they don't realize. It's a very deep rooted cause that people don't understand, because there are a lot of theses that have been written on it, the PhDs have done. They actually say that people who are bullies come from a broken childhood, where their parenting is slightly broken. They've not been heard, and their parents have not given them the amount of attention or the right kind of attention that they need. So I think that's what needs to be done. And yes, all the schools should have a cyber club, a cyber cell club, where an anonymous child can drop in a mail or a letter, or should be able to easily walk up and say, this happened with me. This happened with me and help me. So it needs to be sorted in a very neutral manner, that no matter who, when, where, it should be tackled. And definitely to some level, a cyber cell needs to be involved. They need to meet the authorities to know the level of the repercussions they can face. What they're putting across, it's not something so small. It's not writing on the blackboard. It is writing on the social media, which leaves the digital footprints forever and ever and ever. So they should know that something should be done. So maybe even a digital apology or blocking of the account, or something should be done, so that the child realizes it was not right. That's how I think it should be tackled.
Thank you so much, Ravicha ma'am. So I think the adults should teach the digital citizenship skills to reinforce to children and teens that when they are using their voices online, they must choose their words wisely and speak with respect and compassion. So most of these strategies should be used, discussed, and updated on an ongoing basis to address the changing social needs of children and teens as they get older, because that's the time when the new technologies are emerging every day. So, by being a role model for a good digital citizenship and providing ongoing guidance, so on digital safety and etiquette, so the parents, teachers, and the other caregivers around the child can help prevent the harmful behavior from happening, including cyberbullying. So, with this, I would like to thank all the eminent panelists. Today's webinar. Yes,
I would
ma'am.
like to add something on this point.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
as most of the panelists have told earlier, that the parents should build a emotional relation with the child. So, in the cyberbullying also, I guess in any kind of bullying always existed, but due to the change in world from the real, it has become virtual, and so bullying has been changed to the cyberbullying. So, if the parents keep emotional contact with them, they should always treat the child as a friend. so that whenever anything happens to them, they can come directly to the parents and can tell them, this has happened with me, what should I do now? And as already told by Hina ma'am, Aishwarya ma'am and Ravisha ma'am, that we should make the child understand if he or she is bullying someone, so we should also make them understand that if it will happen to you, how you will feel. It should be taught to them. And if I would just like to say that if other than the school online bullying like online classes, or other than this, if you're bullying, if the cyberbullying is done on the Facebook or Instagram kind of thing, so there is a report mechanism. You can report the account. So if any kind of bullying is done on this particular platform, they have the mechanism of reporting. So you should be aware of this, because most of us, we don't know. We can report the profile also. So we should know that if anything happens like that, we should report the profile, and we should tell our parents and relatives to report that particular profile. So within 24 hours, either his profile will be blocked, deactivated, or some other actions have been taken. And in the previous question, as I told, that there is laws prevailing, so we should be aware of the laws also. As a global citizen, we know all the rules mostly, which is like common rules, we know. So as a digital citizen, we should be aware of the digital laws also, so that we can be benefited from the laws.
True. Very much I agree with your point, ma'am, because this is something, again, the parents need to make their child understand that this is what they can do. And also the parents need to become, have that accepting nature that, okay, something like that has happened to you, so it's not your mistake. And you can come and talk to us, no doubt. Thank you so much to all the eminent personalities in front of me. And today's the webinar has been extremely thoughtful, and the online platform is a silver lining in the dark clouds of unpredictable future. So same, this talk show is a way forward to mitigate small but important issues, to let the life run on the tracks with a smile in each one's heart. So once again, I would like to thank each one of you. Thank you, Ravisha ma'am. Thank you, Aishwarya ma'am. Thank you, Hina ma'am. And thank you, Simran ma'am. Thank you so much, all the viewers and the partners who have been with us. Thank you all for sparing your valuable time for this webinar that taught us apart from all the norms of the new normal. It is essential to understand the significance of becoming a responsible digital citizen. And with this, I would like to thank each one of you who are present here. And on behalf of I Am Entrepreneur, I, Gargi Gupta, sign off the session with the lines of a great poet. कुछ काम करो ना मन को निराश करो, कुछ काम करो ना मन को निराश करो, पंख होंगे मजबूत तुम सपनों में साहस भरो, गिरोगे लेकिन फिर से उड़ान भरो, सपनों में तुम उड़ान भरो, सपनों में तुम उड़ान भरो. Thank you all. Have a blessed day. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.